Impact Radio 102.1 FM. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to the newspaper review right here on your urban lifestyle station, where we analyze all of the stories that made front page in some of the dailies that we have with us today. So many things have been going on in the country, and so many things we don't like, some we fancy, and some we are completely outraged about. And one of those things, it has to do with the fact that flooding is on the topic again, and this time around the federal government has issued a warning that there's going to be an imminent heavy rainfall, predicting flooding to affect over 30 states in the country, which includes the FCT, Bayelsa, Delta, Edo, Rivers, Cross River, and Akwa Ibom states. And all these states fall under states that are at risk of flood due to the heavy rainfalls that will be coming in days, in weeks, in months, and we should be prepared for it. I'm talking we should be prepared for it because every single year that there is a flood in this part of the world, it comes and it feels like we're not even ready for it. It comes and it feels like maybe we had no idea the flood was coming, and all of a sudden we're overwhelmed by the flood's activities. But most of the time, there's always warnings about this imminent flooding, especially from the meteorological organization we have in Nigeria. But it's sad that what you realize that year in, year out, it seems preparations are not adequately done to meet to the challenges of this flood. And I say so because you look at states, especially a state like Bayelsa State, at most times when there's floods like this, the capital, as deep as the capital in Yenagua, activities stop. Schools are not opened anymore, businesses close, and this is because when the floods come, most of these environments are submerged by water. And it has been happening for years. And you ask a pertinent question: what exactly is the government of the day, that is the state government this time around, doing so as to make sure that stuff like this do not occur anymore? Yes, you can stop the flood so much from happening because of heavy rainfall, but there are things you can do to mitigate its effect on your people. There are things you can do to make sure that the water does not turn to a huge flood to the extent that everywhere has to be closed down. I know it takes more than one state to achieve this because water, it channels to different parts of the country, but you can do so much to at least make sure that your citizens' health, your citizens' life, your citizens' way of life, their businesses and everything do not come to a complete halt because of flood. At that point, it seems like you're not doing enough, because this is something that has been occurring for years and years and years. It's not the first time, it's not the second time, it's not the third time, it's not the fourth year. It has been happening constantly, and the Nigerian government, the state government of each state, needs to do more. Warnings have been released now. Over 30 states are at risk. What is your state governor doing at the moment just to make sure that the citizens are safe, that the citizens will go about their daily lives like nothing is happening, and that the citizens will be comfortable in their homes? Once again, I say welcome to the newspaper review right here on our Impact Radio 102.1 FM. You can always be a part of the conversation if you're on all our social media handles, that is X, FKA, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at our Impact 1021 FM, that is HI Impact 1021 FM, or if you reach us via Facebook, our Impact Radio 102.1 FM. We're live on YouTube, so you can go subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Impact 102.1 FM. Remember to click the notification button so you can get to know whenever we are live right here in the studio. Also, you can reach us via calls or your regular text message and WhatsApp message. For your calls, the number for you to call is 0704 425 2109. 0704 425 2109. If you want to reach us via WhatsApp or your regular text message, the number for you to do that at is on 0907 224 5018 0907 224 5018. It is the newspaper review. It is our Impact Radio 102.1 FM. We'll go on a little short break now, a little break. And when we come back, we will be looking into all the papers that we have in full. So you need to stay with us. Keep it locked because we have all the stories you need so as to get your day started with the happenings in Nigeria. Don't go nowhere. Our Impact Radio 102.1 FM. My name is Uche Okorie.
So appealing about April, you may ask. Well, April showers bring May flowers, and the beauty of these flowers are in full effect when they bloom. And so, we don't need no other reason to declare our high-impact Court of Appeal in session. Court!
All rise.
Court is now in session.
You may be seated.
Welcome to April Appeal, where everything we find appealing, or not, is tabled before our court. We're stacking up appeals in every sense of the word. Want to appeal to our sense of sound? Sing to us, and we'll play you fantastic music. Offended someone? Appeal to them for forgiveness.
Is it too late now to say sorry?
Share your food recipes with us on air. Tingle our sense of taste. Don't leave the sense of humor behind. Let's make each other laugh.
If it's something strange in your neighborhood.
Appeal to the relevant authorities to fix it. Follow us on High Impact 1021 FM and tag us in your fun videos while you vibe to our tunes. Appeal to our sense of sight. It's April Appeal, citizens. Let us know what you find appealing or not in the most creative ways. Welcome to High Impact Studios, the place where creativity meets production perfection. Need an outstanding audio production? We deliver professional jingles, engaging voiceovers, and attention-grabbing radio promos that stand out from the crowd.
If you're in the podcasting world, we've got the ideal recording space for you. Our studio is designed to ensure pristine sound, making it the perfect place to bring your podcast to life.
But we don't stop at audio. Looking for a space to film your next big project? High Impact Studios offers customizable spaces for movie sets and video production.
Giving you everything you need to create stunning visuals.
Whatever your vision, High Impact Studios is here to make it a reality.
Let's create something amazing together.
Impact Radio 102.1 FM, the newspaper review is the show which you are listening to. In case you are just joining us, believe me, you are right on time. We are just about to get the show started this beautiful Friday morning. And of course, it is our duty to make sure that we analyze all of the stories that made front page in some of the dailies this morning for your listening pleasure, so as for you to have an idea of what's going on in the country and, of course, around the world. Okay, moving on to the papers which we have with us this morning. We will be starting with the Guardian newspaper, and the Guardian newspaper leads with this one today. It says, Yakubu laments flawed democracies, hints of exit at ECOWAS Pali. Yakubu laments flawed democracies, hints of exit at ECOWAS Pali. You find that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and again, the ECOWAS seems to be a bit shaky, but so many things have been happening with the Sahel region breaking out of recent, and of course, the committee, the ECOWAS Union itself, has been trying its best, fix the crack in the hole, bring back the Sahel region, but it doesn't seem to be working yet. And now we are seeing this. Well, it's important that all this is resolved. It's important that the ECOWAS get its act right. It's important that the union work together so as to make sure that the West African states are good, to make sure that the West African states are united, to make sure that the West African states are completely secured. And talking about failed democracies, it's sad. It's sad because we say this because it seems our democracies in this part of the world seem to be a bit different from the democracy we copied. Because most of the time we get to see African leaders who, claim their rule is democratical, but at the end of the day still do things that seem undemocratical. It makes it look like we see a lot of leaders in Africa who have ruled for years and years and years and years. We've seen a lot of leaders in Africa here who, in as much as they claim to be in a democratic system, act like dictators, flaunt court orders, do things that are not democratically inclined with the rule of government. And so you ask yourself, if all these things are being done this way, how then won't democracy fail if we are not keeping to the right principles that guards democracy? It's impossible for you to practice things differently from the way it's meant to be practiced and expect it to survive. It will be difficult for it to survive. It's important that if we want to practice something, we need to practice it to the core. We need to obey every rule. We need to obey every commas, every full stop. We need to practice it to the core to get its full benefit. We can't break and cut. We can't pick and choose what we like from democracy, act on it, or, drop what we don't like, act on other things. It doesn't work that way. So African leaders need to understand that if you want to practice democracy, you need to practice it 100%. And if we then feel that democracy is not the right path at which the Africans can be governed, then let's look for different means of governance and discuss with ourselves and decide, okay, this is what we know how to do. This is how we know how to rule ourselves, and probably practice that. But as long as we want to stick to the path of democracy, we need to stick to it 100%. Not pick and choose what pleases us and dump the rest. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't really work that way. So other stories which you can find right here on the Guardian newspaper this morning. It says here, 2027 PDP governors meet, SDP rejects merger talks. 2027 PDP governors meet, SDP rejects merger talks. You find that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. There's a huge picture right here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. In case you want to find out what it's all about, you need to go pick up the Guardian. But I'll tell you, an idea of the people who are right here on the front page. We have the Secretary of the Government of the Federation, and who represented the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Also, we have Dr. George Akume, who was actually cutting the ribbon in the middle. He was flanked by President and Chairman of Board of Directors of Afrexim Bank. That happens to be Professor Benedict Orama. By his left-hand side, we see the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun. So, them and so many other persons right here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. In case you want to find out why they're cutting ribbons, what they're cutting the ribbons for, go pick up the Guardian and you're going to see that story this morning. Lagos, Rivers, 28 others to experience heavy flooding, FG1s, which was the story I led with this morning. You find that story on page 5. Huge one. So in case you're listening to me right now and your area is prone to flooding, especially like right here in Lagos, especially those who are stay in the riverine areas of Lagos. In case you're hearing my voice this morning, do all necessary things you need to do so as to make sure you are safe and good. Do not wait for the government to, come help you pack necessary things. Be ahead. Yes, the government might come to assist you. Keyword there, might. But it's important that you take necessary steps to make sure you are safe first. Take out the properties that might get damaged in the rain. Keep them somewhere safe while it's still possible. Make necessary provision for where you are. Maybe your family members will stay in case if the flood comes. I know it's not easy. People say it's all talk. It's not easy. Where's the money to do all this? I get it. I feel your pain, but suffering from the flood also is not easy. So you have to try your best to do your best to make sure that you are safe, because it is really dangerous to be in such situations. It is really unhealthy to be in such flooded environments, especially when the rains are really, really heavy. And we're saying this for 30 out of 36 states in Nigeria. It is sad. It is sad that 30 out of 36 states in Nigeria are at risk of flooding. 30. Man. NERC finds 8 discos 628 million naira for overbilling customers. You find that story on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper. 628 million naira fine given to 8 discos for overbilling customers. Now the question is, what happens to the customers that have been overbilled? Will their money be refunded? Will the amounts that have been overcharged on them be given back to them so they can use to enjoy their electricity? Or is this fine just going to go to the government and the people who suffered the overbilling will just have to move on? I don't think it's right. I think if there's a fine and a fine is being paid, yes, it should be paid. There should also be consequences for their actions, which is the fine. I know that for a fact. But more, let the people themselves who were swindled, let the people themselves who were scammed get refund from what was scammed off them. So if you notice that this meter was overbilled over 100,000 naira, let the meter get back 100,000 naira in overbilling so as to enjoy that money which was taken from him forcefully or her forcefully. If the person was charged 5,000 naira extra, give the person back the 5,000 naira extra in charges. After all, now a good number of places are metered, and you can just refund and let them have what they have. So it's important that not only a fine is paid, but also an amount is given back to those people who were swindled out of their money. Underneath that one, Dangote cuts petrol price to 865 naira as FG backs naira for crude deal. Nice one. If you are an ardent listener to the show, we keep saying it every single day right here on the show, that it is something that shouldn't even be heard of in the first place. There shouldn't be a discussion that has to do with if crude by Nigerians that belongs to Nigeria for Nigerians should be bought in dollars or naira. It shouldn't even be a discussion in the first place. It shouldn't be a topic of discuss. The fact that it became a topic of discuss baffles me, but it is what it is. And of course, since the dropping of Mele Kyari from the board and as the CEO of the NNPC, the first thing I said was, this is the issue that needs to be tackled by the new board. Sort this out, put it under the carpet, bury it forever. Not even under the carpets, because under the carpets you go sweep it out again. Keep it buried in an unmarked grave so as you won't know how to find it anymore. It shouldn't come out anymore. We shouldn't be discussing about it. And now, the next steps we need to take, and take adequately well, is to make sure that there is steady supply of crude oil, is to make sure that our refineries, the one that belongs to the NNPCL, the ones that belongs to Nigerians, are working optimally. To the last of our knowledge, we know we have about 4 refineries. We need the 4 to be working optimally. Port Harcourt refinery, the Warri refinery, and the other 2, they need to be working optimally. If private bodies just like Dangote decide, okay, they want to also come into the place, check them out. Find out their ability to do what they know how to do. Do your optimal work to make sure that everything is 100% good, and give licenses. Let people refine. Let there be more competition in the market. We've seen that the Nigerians have abilities to do most of these things. Why do I say so? A lot of places in the south you go, a lot of places, some places in the southeast, some places here in the southwest, we do know that there's things like bunkering happens. The Nigerian military catch them a lot. They get them arrested a lot. So we know that local refiners do these things. They can do them. So we know that Nigerians have the ability to do this stuff. Yes, bunkering is so bad. It shouldn't be done. It has no place in our society. But also, it gives us the idea that we know our people have the ability to actually do some of these things. So why not we find a way to create modular refineries, invest in the people to learn more, to know how to do it more standard, and it will be for the better of Nigerians. More refineries, more competition, the lower the price of fuel. And hopefully someday we can get fuel back to about 65 naira per litre, maybe less, 50 naira per litre. Oh, am I dreaming big? Am I dreaming way too big? Yeah, but you know what they say, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. So hey, we need to get back to that point where Nigeria is taking the forefront when it comes to anything in Africa, and of course get to a point where we'll start challenging the world. Okay, moving on from the Guardian newspaper this morning, it's time for us to look at the Daily Trust. And the Daily Trust is leading with a huge story, if you ask me, a very, very big story. It says, Tinubu's appointments, presidency defense backfires, retracts published list. Senator Ndume came out 2 days ago to accuse the presidency of lopsided appointments, where he claimed that the presidency have, favored more of the southwestern part of Nigeria compared to other regions in the country. And the presidency came out to defend itself, hereby releasing a list of the amount of people it has actually brought into government in terms of appointments, classifying them in different zones in terms of southwest, north central, and all of that, all the geopolitical zones of Nigeria. But it turned out to be a mistake. It turned out there were lots of mistakes in that, and they had to retract it, which made it look so a bit canny in the people's eyes. Because when you get to social media, everybody now tends to think, oh, maybe truly there's some sort of lopsidedness. Because if you're trying to give a list to defend yourself, and it's not, and you yourself had to realize it's not genuine, a list that you brought out, you prepared, and you realize so many mistakes in your own list. So who's to say You were not trying to manufacture names so as to meet up to defend your own stance and all of that. Anyways, it has been retracted. Like the paper, talked about it this morning, calls it backfired. Really crazy. But let's see what pans out. I'm sure a better list will be brought out. I'm sure we'll get to see a new list soon enough, or maybe we won't even get to see anyone at all. But the people are waiting, the people are watching to see how that one pans out. Underneath that big story, you see an image. This has to do with a building collapse. Then underneath it, you hear 2024 flood victims still stranded as FG issues fresh warnings. Just like I said earlier, it's sad that after warnings after warnings after warnings, it seems like the government are not even prepared for the activities so as to mitigate the effect on its people. And now the Daily Trust is leading with a story that says even the people who were affected in 2024 have not felt some sort of rancor. And yet 2025, another flood is coming. Some of them have not gone back to their homes because their homes are not yet a home anymore. And now the flood is coming again. It means there's no hope of them even going back to their homes. Some people have not gone back to school. Some people's businesses have not been able to pick back up due to the flood. So many things that's been affected by the flood. And now it's coming again. How prepared is the government of the day to make sure that the citizens do not feel its effect as much as that? How prepared are the citizens to make sure that they are safe, healthy? So many things needs to be done. But we have two riders to that story. And this one says Borno, Jigawa, Adamawa, Zamfara, 26 others at risk in 2025. This according to the minister. And also underneath it, 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas to be affected. So it's going to be affecting 1,249 communities in 176 local government areas. This we know, but will there be, things in place to make sure that these 1,600 communities are safe enough so as the effect will not be way too much for them and they will be able to still cope as much as how the flood might still get there. But how huge will the flood be depends on the preparations that is made today. 2 weeks after, FCT teachers, area council workers remain on strike. 2-week strike still going on in the FCT. You find that story on page 29. Yes, page 29 of the Daily Trust. Beside that one, APC shot headquarters as abducted director dies in captivity. Oh my. It's a really sad one coming from a couple of days ago where we were told by the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, that Nigerians do not need to pay ransom to kidnappers. And now we're seeing a director of the All Progressive Congress, dying in captivity, which has led to the APC shutting down their headquarters. It's really sad. I don't even know how to explain how sad it is that we're in a country where even the elites now do not seem to be safe. Because formerly, probably, maybe they were safe. We were seeing situations whereby, it was on the roads, these kidnappings were happening. They were flying planes. But now they go to their communities. They go to people's home. We saw what happened to the DG. They came to his community in Katsina State. They didn't need to fly a plane. They didn't need to do all of that. They just went to his home. So the people are no longer safe. Now an APC director, it is the ruling party, dies in captivity. Man, may God grant the family the fortitude to bear this huge loss. Beside that one, many feared dead as passenger boat capsizes in Niger. Many feared dead as passenger boats capsizes in Niger. You find that story on page 26 of the Daily Trust this morning, and that's the much for the Daily Trust. Remember, you can always be a part of the conversation if you follow us on all our social media handles. That is, you can follow us on X, FKA, Twitter. You can reach us on Facebook. You can reach us on Instagram and on TikTok. On X, Instagram, and TikTok, it is at iMpact 1021 FM. That is HI Impact 1021 FM. On Facebook, it is iMpact Radio 102.1 FM. You can reach us on YouTube as well. We are streaming live on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel at iMpact 102.1 FM. Click on the notification button so you can get to know whenever we are live right here in the studio. From the Daily Trust, straight to the Punch newspaper this morning. The Punch says marketers predict cheaper petrol nationwide as Dangote begins Naira sale. That's the story you find on page 2. Good news. Hopefully, we get to see these changes happen rapidly, and hopefully we get to see more and more reduction as the days come by, because 865 Naira now, good one, but not as good as it used to be, because it used to be way less. This amount, but we're at that period where we get to see how it's climbed, or how it goes back down, because after the subsidy was removed, yes, everybody expected it meant to go high, but everyone also expects as time goes by it's supposed to bite back down and go to a better price depending on how good the economy is. But let's see how that one works. Let's see how this whole Naira sale thingy helps to make sure that petrol price drops instantly. Also, we also know that the price of fuel worldwide has reduced to $60 per barrel, so that might also help in the reduction of the price of fuel, that is especially for those marketers who still choose to import fuel from outside the country. So let's just see how all that pans out. Underneath that one, it is a rider to that big story. It says refinery slashes loading cost to 865 Naira after Naira for crude deal, fuel depot prices to fall. Also, you get to see the pictures on the front page of Wale Edun, the minister, and of course the director of Afrexim Bank, and of course the representative of the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who represented by the secretary of the state government, George Akume. And so go look at the Punch newspaper for you to find out what is happening there. Underneath that one, P-Man faults NBC ban on Idris Abdul Karim's anti-Tinubu song. That story you'll find on page 29. That story probably which will be what we'll talk about at the end of the show. So let's move on. Police recover 21 AK-47 rifles, rescue 17 kidnapped victims. Good news on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. More needs to be done. So many people are still in captivity, and the Nigerian security agencies needs to make sure they do more so as to get all of them out of captivity. Good one by the Nigerian police. You find that story on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Truck driver arrested for killing Ogunpoli student. Page 4 and page 5 is where you see that story in case you want to find out all of the details of how it happened, what went wrong, and all of that. Above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper this morning, FG alert, 30 states to rush to avert flood crisis. FG alert, 30 states to rush to avert flood crisis. We hope they really do avert rush crisis. Page 19 is where that story is. Beside that one, federal character controversy over Tinubu's appointments widens. This was what we were talking about when The Daily Trust was talking about the backfiring of the published list by the federal government of Nigeria. So it says here, controversy over Tinubu's appointment widens. You find that story on page 29 of the Punch newspaper this morning, and we see this one beside it. Ambassadorial list ready for NAS review after DSS clearance. Ambassadorial list ready for NAS review after DSS clearance. And it has been on the news for so long. We've spoken about it countless of times, talking about how it's important that we have ambassadors in the different embassies of Nigeria, and how bad it is that we do not have them yet since this administration took place. But now we see that the list is ready. Many of them has been scrutinized by the DSS, and it's just left for the National Assembly to look at them and assert to them and say, yes, we approve of you, and then the president will make sure that these ambassadors are out there. We've heard rumors of a few names, and some claim, oh, no wonder why these people are no longer speaking up for some things. Well, allegedly, but I'm sure when the list comes out, we'll get to find out if the rumors are true and if those people really make that list, and probably that is why their criticism of the government of the day suddenly stopped. Anyways, that story is on page 2. Underneath it, you find this one, which happens to be the last story on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning, and it says, lynched travelers, FG Edo raised joint probe panel, Kano delegation arrives Benin. We find that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper, and hopefully that particular issue will be resolved as soon as possible. Those who are involved, face the justice system and justice be served. And of course, the federal government do what's more and more important, and which is to make sure that insecurity comes to an end in the country. That is the only way we can come to a point where we do not see things like this anymore. Insecurity needs to come to an end, and when that happens, only when that happens, before we can have a country where things are moving smoothly, where people do not act unnecessarily out of the jump because of intuitions and all of that. Insecurity needs to be nipped in the bud, and until that happens, man, it will be hard for us to go back to a country where there is unity, where there is peace, where there is everything good. I'm saying this because we saw an interview yesterday where the president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, he had an interview with one of the popular TV political shows, and he spoke about insecurity and how it needs to be stopped. He spoke about how farmers need to go back to the farm. He spoke about how the government needs to stop this whole sharing of 10,000 naira stipends and all of that. But the youth needs huge investments on them. He spoke about all of these things, and all of these things are the only way insecurity can end, because when the youth do not have enough, when the youth do not have nothing, we're not even talking about enough now, do not even have nothing to go on by, how then do they survive? Stipends are shared, 10,000 naira, 15,000 naira, 20,000 naira. That doesn't even take people for 2 days, 3 days in the country now. It can't take them. Are you talking about feeding? The other day we saw also one of the ministers talking about 1,500 or about 2,500 naira or whatsoever that can buy meals somewhere and all of that. But let's put that into consideration. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's just say let's just even say $1 can afford you a meal. That's just one meal. Breakfast. What about lunch? What about dinner? Okay, let's skip lunch. Let's say, oh, why are you trying to leave? Okay, don't eat lunch. Okay, manage. Abi? Dinner. That's about $2. And remember that in Nigeria, over 180 million people are living below poverty line. That's surviving below $1 a day. So still on still, that is over 180 million Nigerians cannot afford the first meal of the day. And so you wonder, if they can afford the first meal of the day, how would you even assume that 2,500 naira for a meal is something that is going to get them by? So it's really, really crazy when we do this kind of comparisons. And I for goodness sake, it's sad because Nigerians on a daily basis are trying their best so as to make sure they survive. Nigerians on a daily basis are doing their best to get things right, to get things in order. But how easy is it for them to do all of this when a means to survive in the country has become way too hard? It will take an average young man in Nigeria millions and millions of naira to start up a good business, a good profitable business as it stands today. But as it stands today, even if you have that millions and millions of naira to start a profitable business, there's no assurance that it's going to kick off. Because why? Electricity is poor. Fuel is expensive. Food expensive. So many things are high. And it becomes hard for you to survive, because now for you to survive with your business, you need to incur all of those costs into all of that. And once you put all of those costs into those prices, how can the people afford it? The people you're trying to sell to are also suffering. How can they afford all of this thing? So when I listened to, the president of the AFDB talking about how it's important for the Nigerian government to, invest in the youth, make sure that the youth have a lot of capital to start businesses. It's also important that the federal government makes the ease of doing business very, very well. Because it's hard to do business in this part of the world now. We've seen so many organizations up and leave. It's because it's difficult to do business here. Are we talking about taking loans? Nigeria runs currently at a double-digit interest rate for loans. Talking about 2016, 2017, Nigeria was running at double digits. Yes, that was about 16, 17% for interest rate. And almost every economic expert were talking about how it's impossible for the country to grow with such, interest rates when it comes to loans. And right now, Nigeria runs at 30-something% interest rate for loans. So how do the average young persons take a loan for a business in a difficult terrain like this and still expected to pay over 30% interest of such a business for such loan? It's impossible to survive. Until we move all of these things, make sure that there's enough investment into the young people, make sure that they do not give them stipends, but enough capital to start a business, make sure that the ease of doing business is good, and to make sure that interest rate drops down to single-digit interest rate. We need to have an interest rate that's just about 7, 5, 6, 8%. That is the only way a developing economy can grow. You can't expect to have high interest rate like this, expect an environment that is not business friendly like this, and expect growth in the economy. It becomes difficult. It still was announced in this administration where over thousands and thousands of SMEs closed down. And I'm not even talking about big companies now. I'm talking about the small scale businesses, which is the engine room of the Nigerian economy as it stands now. Thousands of them have closed down in just 2 years. It is really sad. And then we have music artists come out to sing about how crazy it is, about how bad the economy is, about how bad things are. And the songs gets banned. Now the question is there any lie to what the song is talking about? Is the song, maybe saying things that are wrong, which is why it's being banned? Is the song saying things that are made up of lies? If there are no truth to the song, then it deserves to be banned, and maybe even the artist, sued for defamation or libel, as the case may be. But it's been banned. When everyone listens to it, I've listened to the song about 2 times, and it's not saying anything that we are not feeling as a people. So the question is it all about shutting the people up or doing the right things just to make sure that the country gets better? You can't rule a country by propaganda. It's impossible. It doesn't matter what you say or how you say it. If the people are not feeling it, then it means there's nothing that you're doing that is working. And until the government of the day understand that they need to start putting their acts together and make Nigeria work, the people will keep speaking up. How many songs can you ban? Yes, you can ban songs. Are you going to stop the people from playing it on their own phones? Are you going to stop the people from talking about it? Are you going to stop them from saying all the things they say, go on social media and post the things they post? Or maybe social media will too be banned too. Who knows? All I'm saying is, for Nigeria to grow, it needs to take for the people to speak up and speak their mind, and it needs to take for the government to listen and do what the people say. Not until that, we'll continue facing the debacle we are into at the moment, and we might not get the Nigeria that we deserve. That's that. We'll call it an end on today's edition of the newspaper review right here on our Impact Radio 102.1 FM. Thank you so much for being a part of our morning this morning. Tomorrow, the Big 5 will be in your ears, where you get 5 top stories that made it this week on the papers. And of course, on Monday, I will be back with the usual program, the newspaper review, where I help you analyze all of the stories that made front page in some of the dailies that we have with us today. So, is how I say goodbye to you. My name is Uche Okorie. Till I come your way again on Monday, have yourself a fabulous weekend.